Liverpool will soon be welcoming a new stadium, the Everton Stadium, to the city, to the delight of football fans both local and further afield. The stadium is an exciting new project that will replace Goodison Park and hopes to draw in thousands more fans, as well as providing a new place for players to battle out their matches. But why are they moving, and why is now the time for such an expensive new stadium? There are a few good reasons. The first of these is that Goodison Park simply isn't big enough. Although it's seen numerous upgrades since it was built in 1892 and it can seat almost 40,000, it hasn't got the space for the crowds who would like to watch the matches. At one point it was able to seat around 78,000, but regulation changes in 1990 reduced that by half. As the population expands, there's a serious need to grow, and the Everton Stadium will meet that need. Secondly, and maybe more importantly, it comes down to safety. In 2007, the club was spending about £500,000 just doing repairs on the stadium, trying to keep it up to the required standards. And this figure is only going to keep climbing as the building gets older. Rather than patching up the existing stadium and making do, it makes sense to start again with a brand new building. And it's been talked about since the 1990s, when the chairman at the time announced that the club would move to a 60,000-seat stadium. For a while, King's Dock looked like a promising site for the new location, and a completion date of 2005 was set for a 55,000-seater stadium. But unfortunately, funding problems spelled the end of this plan. The club then looked at other options and even gave its supporters a ballot on their new project, known as the Kirkby Project. This would have seen the construction of a retail park complex, which would have encompassed the new stadium. Tesco was heavily involved, although much of the plan was subject to confidentiality agreements, and few details were shared. Although supporters were in favour of this move, the project was eventually rejected by the central government. An amended plan was drawn up, but this was also rejected. Further plans, including the possibility of collaboration with Liverpool FC's Stanley Park Stadium, were floated, but these were scrapped too. Finally, in 2017, the Bramley Moore Dock was unveiled as the preferred new site, and agreements were put in place with the council, who agreed to build a new road and railway station to support the stadium. They also offered to act as guarantors for the club's loans. In 2018, a public consultation exercise saw people vote in favour of the new site. But the decision was controversial because of the existing dock, which is a Grade 2 listed Victorian structure. UNESCO was highly critical and stripped Liverpool of its position in the list of World Heritage Sites as a result of this and other construction work. Despite this, the football club decided to continue with their plans. There has been a clear need for the new stadium for around 3 decades now, so it's unsurprising that the football club is eager to move forward. It has agreed to a 200-year lease and has created plans for a 52,000-seater stadium, with the possibility of further expansion if needed in the future. For a while, this project was known as Bramley Moore Dock Stadium, but it's now known as the Everton Stadium. However, it hasn't been plain sailing from there. Although the new site had been settled upon and the council agreed to provide £280 million in loans, the stadium's costs at the time were estimated to be around £500 million, and the club therefore needed to find the remaining money of approximately £220 million. In 2020, the club announced that it had acquired £30 million in a naming rights deal from USM, and that it would discuss further financing with major international banks, such as JP Morgan and MUFG. In early 2022, the club announced it had acquired all the funding it needed elsewhere and would no longer be taking a loan from Liverpool City Council. It seems that at last the construction can go ahead after significant difficulties. The new stadium will have an initial capacity of over 52,800 seats, but will have the potential to expand up to 62,000 if demand is high. Construction began in the summer of 2021, and there are hopes that it will be completed by late 2024, in time for the 2025-26 season. However, the site required a lot of work before any real construction could begin. It's positioned on a disused dock, which meant that there were some major engineering challenges. The specialist firm Royal Boscalis Westminster, which deals in land reclamation, was involved. The dock needed to be infilled with almost 500,000 cubic meters of fluidized sand, which had to be dredged from the Irish Sea and Liverpool Bay, then transported to the dock via a pipeline. This sand then had to be compacted using a 94-ton excavator with a 16-ton vertical hammer arm. This work began in October 2021, and once it was completed in March 2022, the site was ready for piling. Surprisingly, however, the decision was made to retain the silt in the dock, which is great for the environment but not so good for construction, because silt is soft and moves. It causes a process called settlement, where the surface essentially sinks over time, because the material is settling and compacting. This will result in the dock's ground level gradually lowering. In the early stages of the project, this was happening fast, as much as 5 mm per week. It has now slowed down significantly, but even so, the engineering lead, Gerald Knight, says that the process will be ongoing for decades, and the club may need to relay the pitch in the off-season at times. It's going to be many years before the land has fully settled, meaning this is going to be an ongoing cost for the club. To try to mitigate this problem, the designers made the stadium fully suspended, meaning that it rests almost entirely on the pile caps and will not be sitting on the infilled layer. Even the utilities will be suspended, which involves complex and technically innovative approaches to ensure proper drainage. The pitch itself, however, will be laid directly on the infill, so maintenance will be required as the land continues to settle. Another challenge lay in maintaining the dock's walls. The dock is a Grade 2 listed structure, and because of the resistance from historic England, the construction efforts have needed to maintain as much as they can, so that the site could theoretically be reverted to a dock in the future. This means that the piling layout for the stands had to be designed to avoid the dock walls. The design team used both digital design and off-site construction to meet these challenges. They knew where everything was going to go and how it was going to work before any construction started. Digital planning allowed them to identify and eliminate a lot of issues before they arose. Lang O'Rourke was behind this work. Much of the work will be completed off-site, with components being produced in a factory and then shipped to the site. This includes things like the columns, beams, and more. Many of these components are already on site. A skeleton of the stadium was completed by the end of 2023, and it appears to be on track for the 2025-26 season. All 4 walls are in place, the majority of the rooms have been built, and the Stadium Bowl is approaching completion. Before Christmas, the club announced that the final ground floor slab had been poured, and the construction crew would be working on the concrete terracing and rakers after the Christmas break. More seating will be installed, completing the lower tier. The project's cost is now estimated to sit around £760 million, and it's thought that the club secured its financing via loans. It faced a difficult period in mid-2023 with enormous outgoings and escalating project costs, and much of the funding not yet secured. Its proposed deal with USM fell apart as the firm's owner, Moshiri Ali Alisher Usmanov, is a Russian oligarch and was sanctioned by the UK government and the EU. Another source for the money has not yet been found. It's not all dire, however. MSP Sports Capital provided a £100 million loan in mid-2023, giving the club new hope. The club also had a loan of £40 million through AJ Bell's founder, Andy Bell. Some fans were enormously concerned about the possibility of the club being sold, but the Everton owner, Farhad Moshiri, has insisted this is not on the table. He himself has put up around £450 million of the stadium's costs, but he also stated that he wanted to attract investors to Everton in the hopes of securing additional talent and financial power for the club. He has stressed that the club is not up for sale, and that he's only considering investment in exchange for a minority stake. Whether the project has reached all its financial goals is currently unclear, as many details are not being released. However, estimates show that approximately £200 million is still needed, and it's unclear where this money will be obtained from. The Everton Stadium, once completed, will be one of the most environmentally friendly of its kind, and has focused on minimising its impact throughout the construction process. It is hoped that the club's presence will bring new life to the area around the docks, and that it will allow the many thousands of fans who are currently on waiting lists for tickets to acquire them. Some fans have been complaining that the new stadium will not be large enough to meet demand, even if the expansion is completed. It is a site that was built to impress, with over 12,000 tons of steelwork, and many touches are specific to the club's history. However, it's also in keeping with its location, incorporating a blue wave design with brickwork inspired by the tobacco warehouse. It has since been compared to Borussia Dortmund's Yellow Wall, the largest standing grandstand in Europe. Decked out in the team's rich blue, the stadium has an enormous amount to offer. It is modern and attractive, and will provide both local and international fans with far more opportunities to watch their favourite teams. It will also stand out in terms of its sheer size. Even without the expansion, at the current proposed capacity of around 52,800, it will be the third biggest stadium in the world to host a non-top division club. There's no question that this claim to fame is a superb reason for Everton to have made the move, and this will allow the club to expand, capitalise on ticket sales, and achieve the growth it's been looking for since the 1990s. Excited for more construction wonders? Click the video on your screen to unravel how Saudi Arabia is constructing the world's biggest artificial river in the desert. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to join our community and stay updated with all our latest wonders. See you there.